Great morning, business owners and managers, and welcome to another awesome episode of CX in the Morning, Customer Experience in the Morning. I am your host, Wess Walters, and on every single CX in the Morning, I bless you with customer service tips, customer experience tricks, and gems. And by gems, I mean actionable takeaways that you can implement at the speed of now. Immediately after this broadcast, you will be able to take what you've learned and apply it and share it with your team, making your team and your business better. You will learn the importance of implementing an awesome customer experience and how that affects the bottom line. And that by itself, my friend, is pretty awesome. First of all, the check-in before the lesson. How has everyone's week been? And I don't mean emotions, not how you felt. No, I'm talking about the numbers. What do the numbers say? How was your week? Based on the numbers, for me, it was a very, very productive week. Lots accomplished. And for that, I am proud. I'm going to rejoice and celebrate this weekend. So as we move into 2021, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are launching their own products. I have a lot of beauty supply store owners that are my followers. And a lot of them are launching their own skincare product, their own facial scrubs, their own unique brush, their own hot comb, their home hot curler. So that seems all easy and done. It seems like, hey, just think about it and it should show up. But in reality is a lot of these things take time and effort. And if not done correctly, could cost you thousands. So to assist us with that topic today, we have no other than the wonderful Mr. Jason Gibson. Jason Gibson is a research and development engineer, and he's responsible for, of course, new products and ideas. Well, I guess Mr. Jason is going to tell us what research and development engineer does. Great morning to you, King. How are you?
Great morning. I'm good. I can't complain. Still breathing.
Great. So first of all, thank you for adding your professionalism and your knowledge to this topic. This is totally outside of my lane. That's why I always have people that are smarter than me on the show. I know nothing. I know a little bit about research and development, but not on an engineer level. My level is more around the head start level. So like most of my viewers, when it comes to engineering, we're about the head start level. This dude is on the graduate level when it comes to engineering. Tell us what a research and development engineer does, Jason.
Research and development engineers are responsible for new products, ideas, and bringing those things to life. One way you can look at it is, as far as our responsibilities go, or my responsibilities, is I'm responsible for new product development. These are things that don't exactly exist yet. I'm responsible for the design, the development, and the commercialization of new products. I think sometimes we get into new ideas and we think about the design, how it's going to look, how am I going to do it, but not necessarily the commercialization. How do you bring it into the market? How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost you? Who will buy it? Who's your demographic? Who's your target? And so as an engineer, I'm responsible for the product requirements. So that is, what do we need out of this product? What is it supposed to do? I'm also responsible for the prototype concepts. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but prototypes are literally the before your product. Some may say it's the janky or the ghetto version of the final step.
This is the beta version yes. -0.7.
Yes. This is the before it comes out of the house version.
Nice.
Right. And then I'm responsible for developing the manufacturing design. And at last, testing the product. So manufacturing design is literally when this thing goes into the place where you're going to make it. What is that going to look like? Is it an assembly line? Is it automated machinery? And then, and that's before you even get to the actual things. You have to know what you need to put in place. And then you want to test your product. So you want to make sure that whatever specifications or requirements that you made initially, that you're going to be able to meet those requirements. Because what's the point if you make something to do something and it doesn't do what you made it for?
So you're biting off more than you can chew.
Exactly.
You tell the
Exactly.
market this product is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It's going to be it's a microwavable freezer. You can make ice in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
It's a microwavable oven. Why not a microwavable freezer?
Exactly.
This product is going to be able to give you ice in 15 seconds. And if you want snowflakes, we can make snowflakes too. And then you release it to the market and it's a dry ice machine.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So some of that requires, and it's interesting, when you're an entrepreneur, you tend to want to think about doing everything yourself. Right? You're like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I want to make sure it's the best thing ever. And you think that doing it all by yourself is probably the best way to go. So even as an engineer, my job requires collaboration with cross-functional teams. I have to work with marketing because they have an expertise. I have to work with quality. That's a big one. And we talk about people doing their own thing, either starting from the house or on a grand scale. Talk about quality. And then you have regulations and, regulations affairs. Those are, that's the big legal stuff that you got to worry about. And then also product supply. What happens when you run out? What happens if you have too much? You have excess. What do you do with that? Because sometimes sitting on the shelf costs you more money than not making it at all. So those are things that we have to look at. And by doing that, I have to have, some good project management skills, which all of us do projects. Don't let the word project management scare you. We all do projects. If you're going to clean the house on the weekend, that's a project.
That is.
Exactly.
And if you have kids, you know how to delegate.
Exactly. you want to know this, it's interesting. When you were younger, your parents gave you something that start with a C. They call it chores. In project management, we call that the work breakdown structure. Your parents, you've been doing project management on, most of your life.
Most of your life, yes.
Most of your life. And so, you have the analytical portion of it as far as, being able to look at a problem and be able to think through it properly. Also great communication skills and an ability to work well with others. That is vital. And so that's what a research and development engineer does.
Let me ask you this. You touched briefly on the legal stuff. Now, what are some of the woes or some of the, I guess you can get in trouble? Because I know a lot of individuals right now who everyone has their own scrub. Everyone has their own product and it's not official. Let's just say that. So I'm not sure the correct way of saying it. It's not official. It's just, hey, I've been doing this all my life. And now I put a fancy label on it and this is a product. What are some of the negative things that can go wrong if this process is not done correctly? I don't know. Let's say a child ingests some of this product. One, of course, we can talk about not having an LLC. So now the parent of this dead child is coming to sue you and take everything you have. But what are some of the other pitfalls that I am not a research development engineer? I don't know about. If you prematurely launch a product without following these steps, what are some of the things that can go wrong?
Man, how when you want to achieve something, sometimes you hear people say the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when you do things the wrong way, the consequences are endless.
My God.
They are endless. I mean, you hear it. You don't hear it too much because nowadays, a lot of times, corporations and companies, they get their hands slapped in private sometimes. And so you don't necessarily you don't get any media coverage, but a lot of bad things happen, and they have lawyers and lots of money to pay them. And so someone who is developing their facial scrub, you have some issues, and this is not to discourage you, just make sure you have your affairs in order, because a lot of times it's about labeling. As a research and development engineer, it is my duty to make sure that when I look at the needs of the user, when I look at what the requirements are, I have to also assess something called risk. I have to know, and when you say when you hear the word risk, you think of like, bad things happening, right? But it's not just bad things when you're dealing with risk. It's what you have to think like the product user.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an aspect of you have to think like a dummy, and I'll give you an example. Um, One day I opened up a hot glue gun, and in the instructions it says, "Do not put hot glue in mouth." Now you may look at that and you're like, "That's the dumbest thing someone ever could put." Like, who would do that? 9 times out of 10, when you saw that on they call it like a user information guide, somebody has already done it.
Let's go to YouTube. There's a hot glue challenge, I'm sure, somewhere out there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's somebody's been doing it. And so, you have to think about that. And so let's use the facial scrub or the skin scrub in an example. Anything that is putting on your skin, there are regulations for. And you just have to know what the regulations are. If there's something you're ingesting, there are regulations. In other words, the government says here are things that you should and what you can and you cannot do. So right now, the capacity in which I work, we have to deal heavily with the FDA, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't play no games. And they
Listen,
have,
ladies and gentlemen, if you get a call or a letter from the FDA, the stuff has just hit the fan. Okay.
and usually they will send you a warning,
Mm-hmm.
first. They don't beat you up right away, but they send you a notice like, hey,
Yeah.
and God forbid nothing has happened as yet to somebody or individual, but if they have an issue, then you have an issue. And so those are the things you have to worry about. So what I would say is, for whatever product that you're thinking of developing, whatever product that you already have in completion, you may need to go and check out what are the regulations, what are the rules and the guidelines, so that the man don't come knocking on your door saying, "Hey, look, you're in violation." And
Yeah.
so that is very important, because you will spend more money on lawyers than you will producing the product.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching a YouTube clip, and it was this brother in New York. And salute to him. I'm an entrepreneur, so I wasn't mad or not mad. I was not. It didn't really bother me because he was making money. He was feeding his family under COVID. But the product was juice. He was making juice, and it was jungle juice. It was literally just. Hey, this is not I don't want to bash him. So I salute the brother for making money. But first of all, I'm just brother, like, and he was in the video, he talked about how much money he was making. I was like, dude, you just sent the IRS to your door, and they're coming with their friends. They're bringing all of their agencies to think of all the things that you're doing wrong in regards to sanitizing these bottles, in regards to bottling it correctly. Like, he is literally straight up bodega New York style going around selling juices. And again, salute to him as a hustler. But brother, you just brought the IRS to your door, and they brought their friends. I'm like, why would you do that? So I want to talk more about the ideation phase of the design process, because, like you said, most entrepreneurs, we do this and we just don't know that it's called the ideation phase. Can we dive a little deeper on the ideation phase of design?
Sure. So there are multiple stages of design. And so one company may say there's 6, one may say there's 7, one may say it's 10,
Mm-hmm.
but it really doesn't really matter. You just have to, as humans, we like to put labels on things and they help, because they identify what actions am I taking, what am I doing, and then it works better for duplication. So if somebody comes along behind you, you say, well, what did Jason do, what did Wes do, and I'm able to say systematically, this is how I got from thought process 1 to thought process 2, right? So there's on average six to 5 stages. One of those stages is ideation. And so one may think ideation is the important stage, but I would actually, before we get to ideation, talk about the problem. See, sometimes we like, I got this great idea. You can make a bubble wrap that you could put on sandwiches so your sandwich don't get, you know what I mean? And we're like, yes, but is that solving a problem?
Yeah.
And that's the question you got to think about. So always going from the problem approach. What is the issue? What is something that I can solve in a certain area? And the most interesting thing is that all of us have groundbreaking ideas in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't see it yet. And the reason why we don't see it is because something called psychological inertia. In other
Mm.
words, as human beings, we're known to notice patterns. And if you have a pattern of someone telling you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, eventually that becomes your framework. So if you ever see a little kid, one of my favorite um, demographics of people to bounce ideas off of are little kids
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't had the limitations placed on their thought process like adults have. You always hear, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. But a little kid, they'll try everything. Like you'll
Yeah.
wonder why they'll come out the room covered in Vicks, and you're like, why did you rub Vicks all over your body? Like you're not supposed to do that. But according to him, it's lotion. So
It's
hey, look,
lotion. What are you talking about?
you know. So so those are my favorite group of people to deal with because they're able to think outside the box. And so when you come to this ideation phase, what you're saying is that I already thought about what the problem is. Now I need to figure out a way to fix that problem.
Mm-hmm.
What could I do? And there's so many uh, different ways that you can approach this. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So one way is just to sit in is to I'll give you an example. So there are like a few things that you can do in order to kind of get that process going. So first thing is if you have an idea or if you have a situation that's a problem, could I take some element away from the issue and will taking something away solve that problem? You
Interesting.
know. So let me see if I can give you an industry example. Uh, perfect, vacuum cleaners.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if anybody uses vacuum cleaners, you know that when you start to vacuum it, that same dust sometimes go right back in the environment. If you're like me and you have allergies,
Yeah.
then vacuuming is like horrible. Like you might as well just old school sweep, right? Dustpan and brush, right? You might as well just do that. So what people saw that problem, and so what they started to make is what bagless vacuums,
Mm-hmm.
because what that does now is it doesn't allow that dust to escape out of that bag that you got to replace all the time and cost you money. So what
Yeah.
they do, take it and do what? Substitute it with something else,
Interesting.
right? Uh,
Interesting.
sometimes you can even combine things, put things together. A
Mm-hmm.
good example of that is before we had computers and
Uh-huh.
then we have phones. And somebody said, you know what if we take a computer and a phone and put it together?
Get a
You know,
tablet.
what? And it's,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? So those are some things you combining functionality. And you can look at, I mean, you can literally, if you are a doctor, you can sit right in the and go right into the hospital and just look around and you can come up with so many things because guess what? You know the area, you know the specifics, you know the struggles and the problems that you have in doing your job. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you're a nurse, even if you're the garbage man, like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many solutions that sit right in those guys who drive the trucks, or ladies, guys and girls who drive the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many solutions there. A good place where there's another one. Another way you can do that is to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can you adapt this product that works in this area for another area?
Mm.
I used to watch what's the name of that show? Lock Up or Lockdown.
Yeah.
And some of these brothers and sisters in here are super innovative because you don't have alcohol. So what do? They take apple cores and juice and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and they make their own moonshine. Or if they want to do a tattoo on somebody, they take a pen. And all these little things, they're adapting things that were once used for one thing to another. I'll
Yes.
give you an industry example. Everybody knows Dyson vacuum cleaners
Mm-hmm.
and Dyson fans,
Yeah.
right? Well, the design for that Dyson, that bladeless fan actually comes from the aerospace industry.
Interesting.
It has nothing to do with vacuums or vans, I mean, or fans. What they did is they took a process or something that happens where air flows over the wing of a plane, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And they use that to say, okay, well, what if we can create a jet column of air, right? using that same type of technology in order to create a fan, and you don't have any blades spinning around.
Wow.
And so those areas, you adapt something from one place and you bring it to another.
Well, that's why I always tell my entrepreneurs in my circle of influence that, there's this myth that, hey, I want to make brushes, and all I'm going to read and all I'm going to do is tunnel vision and focus on brushes. And I was like, no, like literally you have to read and study other industries, because some of the ideas, some of my greatest ideas concerning customer experience, or even when I was a video editor, came from retail, or came from engineering, or came from hospitality. And I'm like, wow, what if I take that concept and put it over here? People see it as this groundbreaking thing, but people in your industry are going to see it as this groundbreaking thing. But the hospitality industry is like, we've been doing this for 75 years. So innovation can come from other industries. Good point. Anything else, Jason?
Yeah. Another place where you can get ideas from and adapt things, and we do it. The military does it. Lots of people do it. Like, it's amazing. If you believe that you come from somewhere and that you didn't just appear out of nowhere, a good place to look for that, to look for ingenuity, innovation, is in nature. You don't even understand, like, nature has so many things that have already been done. So when we come up with stuff, we're just like, oh yeah, we created this new idea, this new way of causing this thing to stick on the wall. Well, if you look at a bug, how in the world do these bugs, right, ants, carry food twice its size up a wall? What kind of technology is incorporated? There's a hopping bug. It's bug jumps. I can't remember what the name of the bug is, but if you go Google a bug with a gear in its back. They did a scanning electron microscope to look at that bug's body parts, right? Yeah. And so what they were able to see is that this bug jumps really far. So what they found was a gear. I kid you not. If you look at it, it's literally a mesh of gears. Now, as an engineer, I'm like, you don't get gears out of nowhere. Gears don't just show up in nature. You don't just walk up inside and say, oh, look, that's a gear. A gear means someone thought about, I need to transfer this type of motion to that type of motion, rotation to translational. And that doesn't happen by accident. Wow. That is a design feature, a gear.
Yeah.
When have you seen a gear anywhere else? It's a design feature. So someone thought about that enough to put it in a bug to help it jump as far as it does. So sometimes we see things in nature and we duplicate it. A helicopter looks like a dragonfly.
It is a dragonfly. Someone saw a dragonfly and be like, how can I get this plane to just take off and hover? Dragonfly. I mean, Stevie Wonder can see that.
Yes. Another area we talked about products. So, natural products, hair products. Where do you think that the synthetic hair industry got its idea from? Actual hair. If you take a cross section of hair and you show it, you can tell that this has a structure on the inside. Most of it is created using alpha keratin, but for the most part, you can duplicate that by using plastic. And guess what? With plastic, you can add heat treatment to it. You can give it 4C, 3B, 3A, you know what I mean? You can change it however you want to based on that process. And so that's why people in other countries are making millions by selling that stuff here. See, we get all of that from nature. Okay. Another thing we could do is we can modify. We kind of hinted to that, like take something that's already a product. Maybe it's yours, maybe it's somebody else, and you can modify it. And when you modify it, then you have something different than what was previously seen.
Or if for layman terms, we call that remixing it. You can remix it.
You can remix it, but remember, sometimes you have folks that make a remix, and they get sued for the remix because they didn't pay homage, So I think there's a song called Blurred Lines. They did something with Marvin Gaye's beat, and that caused some serious problems for folks. So you got to be careful with remixing as well. Another thing that you can do is change the purpose. I work for a company that made this thing. It's a steamer where you can steam your food. Well, the folks in Mexico was using it as a tortilla warmer. And so we had no idea. It was like, oh wow, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you can find it can be repurposed or remarketed as something else. Another way you can do is to eliminate or take something away. So I'll give you an example. And it hasn't been done yet, but maybe it will be. So there is something that we all use, windshield wipers. Whenever you go to the oil change place, they'll grab your windshield wiper and they'll be like, oh, I think it's time for another one. Those things are like $18 a pop for a
Yeah.
windshield wiper. It's like, man, and you'll wait all the way until your whole windshield fuzzy and then don't remove the water before you even decide exactly. And then you're like, man, I'll do it later. All right. So, they always look for ways to kind of revolutionize the windshield wiper. Well, what are the issues that your windshield wiper has? Stuff gets on your glass. It rubs raw. That little rubber starts to eat away at it.
Yeah.
Over time, it doesn't work anymore. So what could the company do? They could say, okay, well, let's do something. At first, windshield wipers were straight. But remember, windshields are curved. So they started making them so that they curve towards the windshield. They get better, right? And over time, it doesn't fix the wear problem. In other words, it doesn't fix the rubber from rubbing out.
Yeah.
And so they're going through all different process. Well, someone might say, you know what? Why do we need a windshield? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times when we come up with products, you have to also have the foresight to know that at some point in time, your product is going to be obsolete, and you have to already be thinking ahead.
Man,
of what's going to happen.
Anyone who's seen the show or watched the show, I always talk about, as a business owner, CEO, one of your main goals on a daily basis is to think of ways to put yourself out of business. Every day, that should be one of your allocated hour of thinking time. How can I make my products obsolete? Because if you're not thinking about it, I guarantee you, your competition is thinking about it. They are.
That is true.
Anything else, Jason, about this topic?
Yeah. The last thing is, you can evolve something new by just reversing the process.
Okay.
So what if I turn it upside down or flip it inside out? Does it become something new? Does it become something, different? Let me see if I have an example for you. You ever see those washboards where people, scrub their clothes and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like old school washboards.
Yeah.
Some kids, what do when you live in a cold climate? They take it outside and they get on top of it and they go what? Slide down the hill in the snow.
Yeah.
All you did was change the orientation and sat on it. That's it. So those are some things you can do. I'm telling you, little kids innovate all the time. Sometimes you just got to watch them, and you have to overcome that psychological inertia in order to be able to, come up with these new ideas. But they're all around us.
Let me ask you this: for smaller businesses who don't have a budget, say for like the company that you work for, what are some of the R&D? How can they go about doing research and development without a budget? Of course, we know about focus groups, but what else can they do?
So, observation. I think observation. I was reading a book, and it talked about this company. They were trying to look for the next best thing as far as like cleaning floors, right? And what they did is they hired this engineering group, and this engineering group said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go into the environment of people cleaning floors. We're going to set up these trials, these tests, these observations, right? And we're going to sit down and we're going to watch these people in their houses mopping the floor, right? And they watch hours and hours and hours of footage of people mopping the floor, taking notes. One of the gentlemen realizing through all of the data they was taking is that people were taking, how do I say this? They were taking the same dirty water and right, and they splash it right back on the floor and then rub it all around. So what you literally, and then you take that same mop and you put it back in the clean water, and then you back. So literally, you just bring a dirt from dirt. So you bring a dry dirt to wet dirt, and then back to the floor again.
Interesting.
And they were like, "Whoa, well, what if we can eliminate the bucket?"
Yeah.
Swiffer.
Boom. Again, as entrepreneurs, your job is to solve a problem. If you can solve problems, you will never be without need. You will never be in a position where you have a need. Now, Jason, to bring this full circle, I know we live in a time where, all of us have smartphones, Android, we have iPhones, and there's a myth, not so much a myth, but I can see how this can be problematic. A lot of people, and truly, let me preface by saying this. I truly believe in order for the universe to respond to something, you got to give it something to respond to. So I want to preface by that, letting you know that I'm a forward thinker and I'm like, just put it out. But a lot of us entrepreneurs try to mimic companies such as Google and Apple. They release phones every year that are not complete, that are not ready, that are in the beta phase. And they're like, look, I need to put this phone out now, because if I don't, Apple is going to put it out. If I don't put this phone out now, Google is going to put it out. So they're constantly putting out products that are not ready. What I see is a lot of entrepreneurs running into that problem. They're like, just put it out. And they don't have the track record of a Google. They don't have the track record, the success record of a Samsung to weather the storm of the tsunami of negative reviews that's going to come until the feedback that Apple or Samsung takes the feedback from the consumers and perfect it and make it right. How do you caution, or what caution should you give to entrepreneurs who feel that, just put it, how early is too early to release a product to the marketplace?
Well, let's just establish something first. And I give an example. You ever get in an argument with your parent or somebody else, and this is popular in some cultures. The parent will say, you know what? You're going to need me before I need you. Right?
Yes.
See, because of Apple and Google, because of their expansive catalog, they've already established in the minds of the consumer that you're going to need us before we need you. And in honesty, it's really the opposite way around, because they wouldn't be a business if it wasn't for you, but they've already established that. So a person on a level not, like Google or some of those large corporations, you haven't established that with your customer base. Mm-hmm. They can always go to the guy down the street, and like you said, they can get the juice. He put a teaspoon more sugar in there than you do.
Yeah.
And if you really know how sugar works, it's like crack. So, it's going to keep people coming back the more you put. I mean, look at labels. You find that the stuff that tastes the most, taste the best, have the most sugar in it.
Absolutely.
Hands down. So you haven't established that yet. And so here you come with a product and you say, just get it out there, get it out there, get it out there. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes that works, right? And it's not because the product is good. It's because there is a need there. Mm-hmm. And so people will jump on it because they need it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have to look at that from that aspect. So when I say how early is too early, I would caution that the way you find out if it's too early is if you assess your risk and you realize that you could have some serious legal problems on your hands. Then it's too early.
Understood, man. Jason, there is so much more I want to cover that we cannot cover in a 1 hour show. You just led to risk. I want to cover risk management. I'm going to talk about the cost analysis and the life cycle of a testing. How long should this testing go on? But there's just too much to finish in 15 minutes. What I would love to do is have you back in Q1 2021, sometime in the first quarter, so that we can finish up this topic. So this is going to be a 2-part show, ladies and gentlemen, and you can go back and watch part 1 when we're doing part 2. But Jason, what do you want to leave? What's that one thing you want to leave the viewers with? Those entrepreneurs who are creatives, the ones who are constantly thinking of new things, the ones who will not stop, who go to what's keeping them awake at night is thinking, how can I get this product to marketplace? What is that one thing you want to leave them with?
I would say 2 things I would like to leave them with. First off, don't give up. Like don't give it up. The second thing that I would like to say is utilize every opportunity that you have. Mm-hmm. Because we look at some of these guys like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and we think that these guys are just like the cream of the crop, outstanding, most brilliant people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's not even true. They had an opportunity and they were ready for it when it happened, right? So look out for your opportunities. Do not let an opportunity pass you to be able to move to the next step. And so those are the two things that I would leave individuals with.
Jason, we're here again. If you're just tuning in, we're here with a research and development engineer, Mr. Jason Gibson. He's going to be back in Q1 to finish part 2 of this show. There's just too much to cover. We have to get into risk management, cost analysis, and of course, what should be the life cycle of testing. Jason, I thank you so much for your professionalism. I thank you so much for your knowledge. The viewers say thank you as well. If you are a business owner or manager, this is where you want to be every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern for CX in the morning. Again, a plethora, a myriad of gems, R&D gems from Mr. Jason. I'm going to put some of those as takeaways in the stories as well, so that the viewers can have bite sizes of your knowledge, Jason. If you're a business owner, manager, and you need assistance in anything that you witnessed today, please go to workwithwess.com and or shoot me a DM, and we will be able to give you a free customer experience analysis to see where you are. You will share with us what your goals are, and we'll show you how utilizing our system and our products and services, how we can get you to those goals quicker. If we don't feel that we can help you, we'll definitely send you in the right direction. But most of the time, if you're experiencing a customer service, a customer experience problem, my team and I can help you. Again, you guys have a great weekend. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Oh, Monday is going to be a doozy. Ooh, you want to be here Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern, another doozy. Jason, brother, thank you so much for being here. And man, I speak for everyone who was watching. We appreciate what you had to share. And everyone that's watching, you can have an awesome day if you create it. Peace.